is a bit better than last month. I think last month we had about 5 people.
I was more than that.
I wasn't here, so I can't,
That was the reason.
You made people up not to come.
No, but when I was in Spain last year, there was 30 people, so it's not me. Welcome to Open Mic Night number 67. We're getting on, aren't we? I think we'll make it to 100. Maybe. We have Oscar here tonight, so watch glasses if you've got glasses on the floor, and if you have any food. If you've got food hidden in your bag, he's a Labrador, so actually it doesn't even have to be edible. He'll still troll around in the bag. So I think I've met everyone. If I haven't, my name is Blaise. Kev is on the camera. Les is up the back, probably timing. Who else? We've got Cass, who's a new intern. Sam, who's an old intern. A young, old intern. We got any other interns here? No. Kev will be recording every reading tonight, and we've got some music as well. If you don't want to be on YouTube, please let him know so that he can cut it out. We like to record it because it's really good to be able to play it back and see for yourself what your reading is like, because reading out loud your work is actually really good to improve your skills, your writing skills, but also your public speaking skills. But not everyone wants to be on YouTube. We totally get that. So we have about 10 readers, a couple of those being music. So it's a nice mix tonight. So for those who haven't read before, I think we can have 5 minutes each tonight. So Les is timing. At 4.5 minutes, he's going to give you 1 ding. And at 5 minutes, he's going to double ding. If you don't get off the stage at the double ding, Oscar will come and attack you. He's really vicious. No, you can finish the sentence or the paragraph, but please don't go, oh, I've got a page and a half to go, because then it's not fair on other people. So I also mix it up. So if you put your name in a particular spot but didn't tell me you wanted to go first or last, then I'm going to be mixing it up. I do that so that we don't have all poetry in one spot and all, just to mix it up a bit. So we might start with Paul. Where's Paul? Up the back there.
Okay.
He's just to really throw you in the deep end, Paul.
Okay.
We haven't seen Paul for a while because he's in town, so it's nice to have him here. So welcome.
Hello. Am I allowed to touch this, or is it very fragile and sensitive? Good. Okay. Okay. I used to be funny once, but something happened. I don't know. So they're all clinically depressed. So I'll just read one. I moved house 22 times in 3 years. I was house minding for a lot of it, but just moving every couple of weeks or every few weeks, it really wore me down, and I've sort of landed in a bungalow down in Blairgowrie, but it's the middle of winter and there's no water, there's no kitchen, there's no toilet, no shower. So it's just a pot under the bed kind of situation. So I wrote this: Peninsula. Each day as I drive to Rosebud, I watch the pelicans far above, pointing the way to the ocean or the other shore. They're heading inland now, held there by sunshine and warmth. One eye on the road ahead, one to where the blue goes. I know I'm not a good driver. There is a terrible beauty, a bravery to their silence. But it's when they circle, my heart clenches like a brake. I don't know how I got here. I just washed up on the shore. I'm a tourist where I live, and my body carries such weight. Wherever can we go now, in the thinning air, with winter closing down, all sound, all movement, and any sense of direction? Thank you. I've got to throw in something that's less depressing. But, okay, this one is about... there's half of you might know this, half of you probably don't. There's an urban myth, it's not true, that when Captain Cook came to Australia, they asked the locals, well, they saw a kangaroo and they asked what it was, and the word the Aborigines gave them was, "I don't understand," because they didn't know what they were saying, the whites were saying to them. So that's the urban myth around the word kangaroo, is that it's, "I don't understand." So this is kangaroo. Writing is greater than work or philosophy or even death. No one will read most of it, but it exists entirely and always has. We evolve in leaps and bounds, but it's all a misunderstanding. Words take root and grow a generation, then they too become mulch. This pen moves time itself, makes shapes of everything figured. A kangaroo, you might say, a tree upon the hill. Thank you. I'll do one more. I've never done this one, so I might do this. A bit sick of my nature ones though. Fuck nature.
Yes, I've done that too.
God, I think I've done this one. I think I've done this one before, but it's only half depressing, so I'll do this. Retreat. Today I drove on a suspended licence through the Niggle and out of town. Turned near Balan, took the back ways. Old Corbett's Road, dredged track. Pissed in a derelict house. Trespassed at Moorabool Reservoir. I'm trying to relax. Walking along, nature, God, etc. And I'm talking to you. Can you beat that? Wound up at Rockland Ashram. A monk signed me in. She looked at me severely. I'm kind of glad to go to my room. But the silence, it buries me. When I returned for the first time, your face revealed me as an apparition. I held you and felt your body weight in tears. Now we're separated, but together, and things are never easy. I want you to know I'd come to you if I could, but I need to be still now for a while and see what comes to me. Thank you.
Betty is going to read a short story called Sorry Madam. Is that right? Welcome.
This is a very short story because I don't want anyone to ding at me. So, and it's a true story. I write poetry and I write short stories, and it's 100% absolutely true. Hundreds of bees are streaming overhead, backwards and forwards from the magnolia tree to their home base in a bird nesting box nailed under the eaves. We've only been in the house for a few weeks, too busy unpacking to notice that we have boarders. Next week, relatives are flying down for a visit, and the kids are both allergic to bee stings. The insects have to go. Decision made, I plod indoors, shed my gritty gardening garb, tossing it vaguely in the direction of the laundry tub. Then I continue on towards the kitchen and the telephone. Then it hits me. I don't know what to do. Who should I call? I pull out the bottom drawer in the kitchen bench. You know, the one where you store all of the important bits and pieces you just can't toss away. I drag a bulky envelope from under a wad of brown paper bags as a ball of string escapes and winds its wiggly way across the tiles. I pull out the welcome letter from the local council. It contains loads of information which they are sure I'll be needing someday. I do a quick scan of the contents, but there doesn't seem to be a department for the removal of bees. So I ring the General Inquiries number. Yes, madam. We can give you the name of an exterminator, a smiley voice informs me. I don't want to kill them, I squeak into the phone. I only want to have them taken away. Then you'll have to find a local beekeeper, madam, to do that for you. Where will I find one? Sorry, madam, I cannot help you. I suggest you consult the internet, madam. Smiling voice had lost interest. The computer hums and minutes pass before I find the website for the local beekeepers, one of whom, it says, would be only too happy to help me out. Great. I leave a message on the busy person's phone, then again and again for 3 more days. Outside, under the eaves, the nesting box is overflowing with honeycomb and the bees are building extensions, a balcony, I think. On the 4th day, I go back to the website and ring their office number, see if anyone can help me. Hello, I've rung your designated apiarist and I've had no answer in 3 days. Is there anyone else you could recommend, please? Sorry, madam, I cannot help you. This is a printing company in Glen Waverley. Printing company? I check the computer screen and I read out the number to the woman. Yes, that is our number, she confirms. You're the 3rd person to call this month. Her polite voice holds just a hint of annoyance. I apologise for wasting her time, but what do I do now? I try each of the 8 mobile numbers listed on the website, and finally someone answers and agrees to come to remove the hive. But it's midsummer and we're having a run of extremely hot days. Sorry, madam, I'll have to wait for a day with no fire ban so that I can use my smoker to calm the bees. That buzzing noise in my ears, I'm sure, is laughter from hundreds of little striped insects. I picture them stretched out on their sun lounges on the balcony of their 2nd-storey extension. 1 week later, an ancient Holden rattles its way up my driveway and an even more ancient man unfolds himself from the driver's side of the car. He dons his white suit, puffs some smoke at the hive, lifts it carefully from the large metal hook attached to the wall, and encloses the entire colony inside a voluminous white sack. 2 minutes later, the apiarist guides his rusty vehicle down the winding driveway. My bees, securely locked in his boot, and 150 of my dollars warming his back pocket. I think I've just been stung.
Thank you, Beth. Now, I think we've mentioned this in past months, but if anyone wants, you know, usually when you read, you can get a bit of a feel for how people feel about your work. But if you want one of us Busybird people to write a report and give you some feedback on the piece that you've written and the way you present, just let us know. We actually have a little option on next to the reading. Just come and talk to us about that, because we can re-watch it as well if we don't remember everything. Pamela you must be getting towards the end of your memoir.
Yeah, this is the last but one chapter.
Last but one chapter, okay. This one's called Touring Solo.
Yes. I haven't been for a couple of months, but I wrote quite a bit, and to catch you up on that, I went solo in Hong Kong, and then I did a contract in Japan Then I went to Taiwan and learnt 2 Chinese songs. Then I went back to Japan again, and now I return to Hong Kong, and I'll take it up from there. Oh, I met a gentleman in Hong Kong, and he was going to help me get another number, which was a Spanish number, ready. So I'm meeting him now. And I tell him I want to go back to England for a short holiday because I got very lonely in Japan. So he replies to me, "No, you'll have to pay your own flight to Singapore." We exchanged the necessary contact details, and at last I flew to England on the unused ticket from the ballet to spend a few precious weeks in homely comfort with my parents. Lethargic and bored after the wonderful homecoming, and suffering from the freezing winter weather, I was itching to leave. The weeks had turned into a couple of months, and still no news. But oh, when would they contact me? At last a telegram arrived, stating I was to be in Singapore on the 1st of March. I yelped with delight, telling Mother, "Don't know when I'll be back, but I love you both." "Don't worry me, Doc," she replied. "Follow your dream, but please don't go back to Japan. Your letters told me how lonely you were. Your home is always here." I bought a cheap one-way ticket flying with Aeroflot, and at Heathrow Airport in London, Mother insisted, "Give me a camera. They might think you're a spy in Moscow." Reluctant, I handed it over. She didn't understand aeroplanes had to have stopovers to refuel, and I knew she'd sent it when I was settled somewhere. Stepping into blazing sunshine in Singapore, a rush of adrenaline overwhelmed me as I was escorted by the Singapore agent to a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. He explained, "We'll give you $7 a day for food until a contract for Indonesia is confirmed." I'd expected to work immediately, but nothing could dampen my enthusiasm. A Philippine ballet was staying there, and we conversed in Spanish. During the idle 2 months, I rehearsed my act and caught taxis to the Hyatt Hotel in the city, where the manager allowed me to use the outside pool whenever I wanted. Later, he proved to be very helpful. Flying to Jakarta for a month, I performed 4 shows a night at various venues, and afterwards was met at the Singapore airport by the agent, who gave me a ticket to fly directly to Penang. The audiences were mainly Chinese and Indian, and singing Chinese songs was my salvation. An avid reader, books were my solace during long tedious journeys as I toured the length and breadth of Malaysia, performing in small and large towns. Grabbing a novel from a bookstall, I'd read it and leave it behind for an unknown person to enjoy. While starring for 2 weeks at the Golden Theatre restaurant in Singapore, I became friendly with John and Annie, an American actor who'd come from Australia. It was a happy time visiting local attractions in the daytime, and I was due to return to Japan in a few days. Unexpectedly, a telegram arrived from Japan. Horrified, without any explanation, I read, "We've cancelled your contract." Staring in disbelief, I turned to Annie. "This is terrible news. I have no other contracts and don't know what to do. I'm finished." Annie soothed me, and her words gave me a glimmer of hope in the darkness of despair. "You've got a great act. We've come from a review in Melbourne run by an old entrepreneur. It's only an 8-week contract, but it may lead to other things. He'll love your show. Send him photos and plague him with phone calls." I did what she'd suggested, and the manager of the Hyatt Hotel allowed me to pay for calls to Australia. Learning of the terrible news, the Singapore agents helped by getting me a spasmodic contracts, but the work was running out. "You've worked everywhere, there are no more contracts. We're sorry. You'll have to return to England," they sighed. "You've helped," I told them, "but I'm not giving up yet." Annie was right. When I was able to contact the entrepreneur, I could sense he liked my photos. "I'll send you a letter with the details," he replied in a professional manner. "If you agree, I'll arrange your working visa." Giddy with excitement and relief, I put the phone down. No need to go home. When it arrived, I ripped the envelope open in a frenzy, keen to learn what he was offering. The weekly wage was lower and board and lodging weren't included. No, wait, there we go.
some music now, Dominic. Yeah.
Rock and roll, yeah. Not quite.
Are you going to stand?
Trying to encourage her. She's very good, I think. And I do folk songs, so I take the opportunity if I can. And this is an Irish folk song. The Irish have got a way about them, haven't they? They do a lot of sad songs. Bit of sad history too, of course. And this is one, it's a more modern one, and it's written by Pete St. John in the 70s actually. And it's just called The Fields of Athenry. Some of you probably heard it because the Liverpool soccer team use it as their theme song. Heard a young girl calling, Michael, they are taking you away, for you stole Trevelyan's corn, so the young might see the moon. Now a prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we used to watch small birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. My lonely prison wall, I heard a young man nothing matters, Mary, if you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I rebelled, they ran me down. Now you must raise our child in dignity. She watched the last star falling as the prison ship sailed out against the sky. Sure she'll wait and hope and pray for her love in Botany Bay. It's lonely round the fields of Athenry.
thought you'd call me next. I can't find me glasses.
Are they in your pocket?
No, they're on the floor.
Joan is going to read a poem. Does it
No,
say...
I'm sorry.
You've changed your mind?
No, it wasn't a poem.
Oh, okay.
Your glasses, Blaise?
There's a poem.
Thank you.
Someone's birthday again in a couple of weeks. We're waiting for the Queen, aren't we? We're going to get the Queen's letter before you know it.
Oh, I should have had that last time. I'll be 91 in August. It's lovely to be back here again. I haven't been for a little while, and it's especially nice to be amongst all you very talented people. Now don't start counting yet.
Hear that, Les?
This is called Autumn Nostalgia, with an apology to Paul because it's about nature. It was just a small, narrow leaf. I kept it a long while. Even after the russet tones and mellowness of autumn had faded and winter's chills freshened the air, it retained its brilliance. No doubt, for a long period, it had looked like hundreds of other leaves on the tree. However, when it fell to the ground, it was unique. Half the leaf was green, but from its broad centre to its stem, it was striped with glorious pinks and deepening mauves. It was beautiful. This leaf, shed from the parent tree, arrested my attention immediately. I thought, your usefulness has passed. You have done your duty, capturing the sun's rays, drinking in the rain and breathing life into the tall tree. Now you are discarded, no longer useful. How wrong I was. The leaf remained a thing of beauty over a very long period. Its unusual striping spoke of the Creator's artistry. For weeks, I mused upon my little treasure, displayed on the table in the hallway. It spoke to my heart. How often we are ready to pronounce a use-by date over something or someone with plenty of potential locked inside. There is a purpose for all creation, but the world's greediness and endless pursuit of self-gratification seems to ignore and waste some of the finest provisions offered. Even if that special leaf had remained on the ground, been trodden underfoot, it would still have retained its usefulness. As the autumn or fall allows the dislodgement of the old to make a way for the fresh new buds to develop, those fallen leaves put nourishment back into the earth, enriching the soil, feeding other growth. What a challenge this presented to me. In the enthusiasm of youth, our greening days, we may well be very energetic and exceedingly alive, too busy to stop, and not always given to quiet meditative moments, which later become so important. At such times, life can be all go and action, with little thought given to the outcome of impatience. The autumn of our lives seems so far away. But suddenly we are there. That small leaf was so yielded to its destiny, totally given over to its future purposes, sharing its beauty till it returned to the earth. When we take time to consider our autumn years and dwell upon the wonderful experiences of past, our times of trial and testing, the good times and the harsh times, we can have a heritage to pass on to others. We too are unique. Like that small, beautiful leaf, our heritage need never perish or fade, as we recognise that we, each one, was created for a purpose. Then the autumn of our lives will be a time as rewarding and as blessed as our early spring growth, when we humbly see our autumnal maturity shared where it is most useful. I still experience joy, remembering the beauty of that seeming insignificant leaf.
Marcello, are you going to talk about Genostra, the continuation? We've got something.
Something new, forced by the heavens,
By what?
by recent events.
Oh, was that the volcano?
Yes.
Well, we thought
That's
so.
what it was. Can I borrow this cover?
You sure can.
Not that I can play it, but that's all right.
Do you want the stool?
Nah. There's a bit long. Excuse me. You all know me and Genostra. Unfortunately, almost 3 weeks ago, they had the biggest explosion in the history of the Stromboli, and we nearly lost Genostra because this time all the rocks, the burning lava and the ashes fell in Genostra, not with the usual shadow where the lava usually goes down to the sea. This time it just, like in 1930, when a similar explosion, not as big, decimated the population from 900, they went to about 200. And there was, when I was there in the early 50s, it was 70. Again, with Genostra, you cannot escape. You've got the fire from the top, the air is full of poison, the sea is very rough, you cannot get out of there. The helicopter, emergency helicopter, cannot go through the dark cloud. So just imagine what happens. I've lived that, and I still get goosebumps when this was happening. I was in constant contact with a friend there with the telephones. And so as a music, I think I performed once here a song about Stromboli exploding, but I changed a few lines this afternoon because this was serious. And how things have changed. In the old days, the people would cry and then go to their saints for help, and knowing that if everything was okay, the saints had intervened, because this time that is gone. And sort of the faith has changed, and then the modernism has taken over. But this is a cry, in a way, of this man that is experiencing, because as Stromboli, the volcano is quiet, and then all of a sudden, and for some strange reason, the monitoring system, which is one of the best in the world, did not forecast this tragedy, and I still can't work it out why. You know, sort of all the volcanologists all the world are getting together to see what went wrong so that it won't happen again. And so this is in the original Aeolian dialect, an Aeolian dialect which was brought in the islands a few thousand years ago by Sappho, who used to live in the island of Lesbos. And her father sent her to the islands, the Aeolian Islands, because he wanted her to get married, didn't want her to stay with another woman, which she did, and 2 children. And she wrote in the Ionic or Aeolic dialect, which stayed in the islands, contrary. And I'm one of the very few people left, basically, in the world that still reads and writes it, because people don't learn dialect anymore. And it's all of a sudden when the sky is clear and the sea is calm, there's a big explosion, changes everything. And so this man cries to our mother, our lady, to St. Vincent, please save at least my children, forget about me, because the sea now is so rough. The rocks are burning. The red and the black ashes is covering the streets. And the sea waves are getting bigger and bigger. People are running, they're crying and pleading for help. But the sad story is this now. What is left at the end of the day, they're going to do something only because they want to preserve tourism and make sure that the lava doesn't damage the tourists. They go there. But no one really is worried about what happened to the vegetation, to the century-old, actual millennial olive trees that have disappeared. So this is, I'm not a good singer, I'm not a good player, but that's all right. Distinto cielo, mare sereno, sognele mia, ora dormia, si sente un boato, la terra c'è mare, ride sgomente, la mente magari, mamma mia, mamma mia, e lo sogno le cascatia, San Vincenzo, Mater Maria, salva almeno la creatura mia. Lava de fuoco, spoglia domate, cenere nere, cadiante strade, o mare ingrossava, la gente scappava, lacrima mare, ognuno itava addossato dalla scolanza. Chiste la storia del sogno le triste, restavo là e le turiste. Della storia del sogno le triste, restava là e le turiste.
Marcello. Okay. Steve is going to write. Well, I'll let you explain what you're going to read.
Fine, yes.
Yeah.
Hello. Some of you might know I was one of the authors for Antoinette Pellegrini in her anthology, the first of her anthology series, which was Live Your Truth. Now, I'm pleased to say I'm working I've written my chapter for the second part of that anthology, which is Messages to Your Younger Self. And this was sort of a challenging theme to work on. And after tossing up a few ideas, I've decided to do a bit of a 7-up. So I've gone back to each of my 7 years, up to sort of 8 parts, up to 56, which I am now. No, it's hard to believe, isn't it? Oh, gee, young. In this bit, I'm going to read just the first part of it today. And in the second paragraph of this bit, I've done something fairly unique, where I've written something which makes perfect sense when you're reading the words on the page, but it'll sound a bit odd when I read it out. So to illustrate that, I'll be reading it out. So here we go. This is Stephen up, and 7. Hey, 7-year-old Steve. That's your name, isn't it? Of course, you know yourself as Stephen, but you haven't yet cited your birth certificate, which shows that your real name is Stefano. Stefano is a foreign name to you, because no one's ever used it in your presence, not even your parents. They've always referred to you as Stephen. So there's no question that Stephen is your name. However, it is at this time in your life that you discover that Stephen can also be written as Stephen. This is an intriguing revelation. Why get about as an ordinary old Stephen when he could go by Stephen? Stephen has a more sophisticated edge to it, and you like that. So from now on, when asked, how do you spell your name with a V or a PH? You choose the PH every time. Notwithstanding the fact that in your adult life you'll mostly introduce yourself as Steve, when writing your full name you will always use Stephen. So at a very young age you are showing some nuance to your personality. Your life otherwise seems unremarkable. Unremarkable to you, that is, because of course you don't know any different. You are one of 6 siblings. Your parents were born in Egypt but speak Italian at home. You understand the Italian language but don't speak it much. Coming from a large migrant family is not unusual to you, because almost everyone at the Catholic school you attend has parents born overseas, and some kids have 10 or more siblings. What is unusual to you, though, is references you see in some school books to new Australians. Isn't everyone in Australia an Australian? If there are new Australians, who are the old Australians? I recall you asked one of your teachers about this, but you didn't get a straight answer, did you? Looking back at these actions and experiences are all signs of a clever and inquisitive mind. Your creative mind and your need to differentiate yourself from others will see you well in future years. Good.
So we have to wait for the book for the rest of the story? Okay.
It's nice to stand in a nice crowd tonight instead of last time. I'm Michelle Burke, famously known for travelling around the world with a cardboard cutout of my late husband Paul. And his name's Cardboard Paul, so that's him there. The original Cardboard Paul, I made a promise to him. He passed away 3 years ago to a rare melanoma. And on his deathbed, he said, what are you going to do when I'm gone? And I said to him, I'm going to travel. And he said, oh, where are you going to go? And I said, oh, we're going to go to Paris and London or wherever we're going to go. Wherever we were planning on going, that's where I'm going. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a photo of you, pack you in my suitcase, and when I go to all these famous landmarks, I'm going to take you out and take photos of the two of us. And he says, you're not, are you? I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. He says, you're not? I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. So in 2017, I booked some tickets to the Paul McCartney concert in New York, and it just snowballed from there. So I got a 5'9" cardboard cutout of my darling soulmate, Paul, and I've travelled around the world with him. So at the moment, we've got 60 media outlets and 7 countries. It went viral. That's the story anyway.
So I was fortunate enough 2 weeks ago to be interviewed with ABC Gippsland. I just happened to be in Bairnsdale for a psychic event, because on the side I do some medium work and some spiritual work. And so I was interviewed with her, and Paul came through her, actually. It was rather funny. But it's 4 weeks, and I'm travelling again with couple Paul and a friend of mine I met on the first tour. And we're going to Edinburgh, to the military tattoo via Hong Kong, and we're doing the UK again. So the last couple of days I'm thinking, poor Cardboard Paul is very tattered and falling apart. He's put together with gaffer tape at the moment. So I rang the cardboard cutout people, life-size cardboard cutouts, and I said who I was and what I've been doing, and I said, I need another one. And I said, but he has to fold in 3, because the last one I bought only folded in 2, and he doesn't fit in his bag or my suitcase, because he's got his own canvas bag and he fits nicely in my suitcase, because canvas bag is probably about that wide. And he just put him over his shoulder and just walk around and take him out, unfold him and take photos everywhere, selfies. So I was speaking to the lovely gentleman yesterday, and I said, I need something a little bit more robust. I said, I'm taking him away again, and he needs to sort of last a bit longer than his last tour. And he says, oh, well, we can do some core flute, which is a little bit thicker than what he currently is. But I got a phone call today, and they said, sorry, we can't do the core flute in the 3 pieces. It can only be in half. I said, okay, well, we'll have to take the original again. So I've just got to organise to have him reprinted. So I've had 2 versions or 3 versions of him, so I'm going to take the original away with us again. But so with this next tour, doing the military tattoo in Edinburgh, and we're going through Scotland and back down through Wales and the UK again, and the beautiful Paris, and I got lost in Paris. So I thought I'll just read a little bit about getting lost in Paris. The book is available too. The book is available.
We have
Also,
copies here.
there are some copies here, plus my first book, Conversations with Paul, which is about our story of his battle with the rare melanoma. We're looking at film too at the moment, so we've had a little bit of discussions about putting it on film, but it's a bit crazy. But I think Paul thinks it's absolutely hilarious, but he can't believe that I've actually taken it the next step further. He just thought, oh, well, we're just going around the world with a couple of photos, and now it's crazy. But so I'll just do Getting Lost in Paris. Elisa, my travel agent, had booked me a tour of Versailles in the morning, and I had to meet my tour group at Invalides train station. I was up early for my second day in the beautiful city and felt very excited. I walked downstairs and asked the concierge for the best way to travel to my destination. He suggested to take a bus instead of a taxi. That decision was probably not the better of the 2 options. He provided me with the map and directions. With Cardboard Paul in his calico bag over one shoulder and my handbag in the other, I hit the streets of Paris. It was really early, as I had to be at the pickup point by 8:30. I'd headed for the bus stop and waited and waited. It didn't look as though my bus was coming anytime soon, and time was ticking away to get the collection spot. I looked at my map of Paris and determined that I could walk to Invalides station. Bad mistake. Which in hindsight probably wasn't one of my better decisions, considering the map and all the street signs were written in French. My understanding of French was very petite, very little at the best of times. I'll leave it at that. But the book is there, and it covers all our travel of. I was going to do a bit of Ireland after that beautiful Irish song before, but there's plenty of stories of getting up to some really funny things with Cardboard Paul. And also we're going back to Ireland, because I've extended my 6-week tour to 7, and we're travelling, doing a book tour, I believe, around Ireland. And at the moment we had nothing, but I'm going to Tipperary, so that's the first one booked. Thank you.
The book is called In the Company of Strangers, and the title poem is called In the Company of Strangers. We live our lives in the company of strangers. How little we know of the hearts of the men who surround us. How seldom we see but a glimpse of another man's soul. We each tread our own destined journey that only we know of. And strangers pass strangers, all bound for the bell's final toll. 'Tis seldom we know of another man's thoughts or his essence. Only he can decide what he shows us and wants us to see. And if he decides to guard secrets and keep his own counsel, he will never be known to the world, nor to you, nor to me. We're alone when we start on life's journey, wherever it takes us. And alone we will be yet again when we come to its end. And in transit, our lives are surrounded on all sides by strangers. And the best we can hope for is one we can truly call friend. Now, seeing that Blaise has generously allowed us 5 minutes tonight, I can probably beat the bell ringer with one more. And this one is called When Did the Roses Die? Where did they go, the golden sands, the beach I walked with you? Where went the sun that shone to grace the days when our love was new? When came the tide? Whence came the clouds? The dark, the driving rain, the cold that now engulfs the life that I must live in vain. When did the roses lose their blush, the landscape lose its hue? When did the sun that bathed our lives slip silently from view? Where went the impish joyful light that twinkled in your eye? Where went the love once brave and true? When did the roses die? Under the scythe of the reaper grim and his vile whore neglect, who noiseless come in the night and cut a swathe when we least expect, who make us pay for each tiny sin and each chance that we let pass by, and leave us amid the shreds of our lives to ask, when did the roses die? Where is the joy of the days long gone, and the times I spent with you, of snow on the mountain and nights of rain, and strolls in the morning dew? How did I lose you? Where did you go? When did life pass me by? My memory still is of blood-red blooms. When did the roses die? Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, that's it for the reading, unless anyone decided that they want to read that didn't put their name down. Poor Cass has been here 1 week and Les is already hassling her. A couple of just reminders about things coming up. Did we have this last month? We have, and now this is Les's fault, the name of this competition is called the Excellent Manuscript Assessment Competition. So if you have a collection of poetry, short stories, a novel, a self-help book, a memoir, any type of manuscript, you can actually enter this and you could win a manuscript assessment, which means a really detailed report of it, as well as a chat with me. So even if you don't win, everyone who enters has a chat with me about their project and some feedback on it. So that's open now until the 15th, I think, 15th of August. Not this weekend, but the next we have our 2-day book camp. So that's where we have a really intensive full 2 days where we plan, write, publish and market a book. Like, so we learn all about that. So that's coming up. We have our Bali retreat in November, there's still some spots for that if anyone's interested. Anything else that I've forgotten? No? Door prize. So if you paid your $5, you will have gotten a ticket. Door prize is a $50 voucher at Busybird. Who's sitting next to Richard? Whoever sits next to Richard usually wins. So this is like $50. You can use it for anything, workshops, books. If you want to come to Bali, you can put $50 down on Bali. Okay, a couple of people in the room going to Bali. It's going to be fun. Are we ready? Black F61. Who? F61, yes. No, he's lost his charm. Come on, Dan. Sorry, Rin. Yep, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I don't
you.
want to speak there, no.
Okay, so thank you so much. Great mix of readings tonight. It was really good. Really nice to have so many people on a lovely winter's night. So please hang around and have more wine or tea or coffee. There may be some beer left. Is there beer left, Liz?
Yeah.
Maybe. And hopefully we'll see you again next month. Thank you.
Yeah.